So I'm here in virtual Israel. In SL
Increasingly,
Israel.
the simulated and the physical realm blur, virtuality reflecting serious real-world issues in all their complexities. Case in point, the overwhelming protests in response to the Israeli army's December 2008 Gaza operation. Virtual Israel in Second Life became a stage for a virtual shouting match that lasted weeks. Doron Friedman, who runs the Advanced Virtuality Lab at the Interdisciplinary Center's Sami Ofer School of Communications, was in Tel Aviv when Israeli bombs started targeting Hamas installations. When he logged onto a cell,
two people engaged in a conversation, relatively civilized and intelligent even, but then the other demonstrators shouted at the guys talking to me, "We're here to show our outrage and not to talk to the Zionist pigs."
Doron says he was disappointed yet not surprised that even in this simulated environment it was difficult to hold peaceful discussions.
It's all a matter of expectations. Even if you have 10-20% of the people trying to reach an understanding, I still think this is better than the physical world in which the two groups would not be together because then there would be actual violence.
Activist Alex Joe Magic, Alex Nissen in real life, a member of the Coalition of Women for Peace, has seen plenty of violence. When this Australian citizen with an Israeli passport is on the ground in Gaza, her life is on the line, whether she monitors checkpoints or helps Palestinians rebuild their homes.
When you work together in a situation where I belong to the occupier and they belong to the people who are being occupied, you actually develop a very intense personal connection because all of a sudden you're on the same side against a common enemy, which is really violence.
In a talk last month organized by Peace Train in SL, Alex laid out why this recent military engagement was particularly disastrous for the Palestinians.
Gaza is about 12 kilometres wide. Now there's over 1.5 million people in Gaza. People can't escape into the sea. They can't get into Israel. Egypt sealed the border. This was really the first war where people couldn't escape.
Alex makes no secret of the fact she feels the creation of Israel in 1948 was followed by a campaign of ethnic cleansing not unlike the Holocaust, in which her own family suffered deeply. While the seemingly never-ending cycle has made many on both sides desire revenge, Alex says her personal history has been the inspiration to fight for a world without guns.
Now what came first? The chicken or the egg? The occupation or the suicide bombing? Doesn't matter. We need to stop the fighting and the arguing over the semantics, and we need to start to do everything we can to bring the two cultures together, to talk, to work for peace. Because in the end, you have to negotiate.
But a sit-down lecture with peace activists' avatars singing songs of trust is certainly different from a face-to-face meeting between bitter enemies. What role can virtual worlds like Second Life really play in serious attempts of conflict resolution? Researcher Doron Friedman has observed real-life as well as internet-based resolution meetings and says 3D platforms should not be underestimated.
Virtual worlds could be the middle ground. On the one hand, it would allow people to have meetings which are not possible geographically, and on the other hand, the experience would be more meaningful and emotional, so that the effect would be stronger than just some text chats.
This assessment is echoed by Dr. Hanan Gazit, who teaches at the Holon Institute of Technology. His company Metaverse Sense is currently developing 3D worlds where Israeli and Arab youth can interact and learn together.
This is what I call the virtual arena. Like we have in old Greece, you have a square in the middle of the square that people can come, people can express their opinions. Even negative interaction is a kind of interaction.
As enthusiastic as Hanan is about what he calls the revolution of Web 3D, he also cautions that
the technology by itself doesn't do anything. If the goal is to bridge between different parties, you need to find the right platform to afford people to communicate.
And sometimes the right platform to communicate is a place just around the corner. The Montreal Institute of International Studies recently invited Gaza resident Amr Shurab to speak at an event entitled The Gaza Question. His two brothers were killed in the invasion. The story of Amr's father, whose one son bled to death in his arms, was widely reported and spawned considerable outrage. Amr, who has been living in the U.S. since 2004, promised his father
to use my privileged position here in this country to speak about this. Tell people what happened. If people know, it's going to make it a little less likely for this to happen again. We're not seeking retribution. We are seeking accountability and justice.
Accountability, a prerequisite to normalized relations. And no matter if the breaking down of cultural barriers happens over a plate of hummus like here at the Peace Week at MIIS or via new technology, I'd say let's not lament the perceived apathy of the young generation, but embrace their enthusiasm for change and extend some, well, trust. From Monterey, California, enjoying the possibilities of the physical world, I'm Draxter Dupre.
Trust.
Trust. Trust. Trust.
Trust.
Trust. Trust.
Trust.
Trust.
Trust.